everybody, welcome back. I'm Kristen here with Indie Game Origin, and today we are going to do an exclusive interview that I was able to get with Pavel from the team at Space Sauce, who is working on a very fun platformer called Origament. I hope I'm saying that right. Origament? Origament? Now, I had the distinct pleasure a couple of months back playing through a playtest version of this game, which I was able to live stream. And today we're going to replay that live stream while I read this interaction that I had with Pavel. The reason that we're doing this text-based was it felt a lot more comfortable for him to have this conversation through text. So to honor his wishes, I'm going to read it as he has written. Now, if you like these interviews and you want to see more of them, please feel free to like and subscribe. That helps to boost us to YouTube so I can keep doing these interviews and keep sharing games that deserve to be highlighted.
Shirt change. You know what that means? We are now officially sponsored here at IGO, which is pretty sweet to share. We are sponsored by Mabel Stationery. Now, I've actually been using Mabel Stationery for over a year, despite them being a brand new company, because I just happen to know the guy that makes them. Now, these notebooks were made because the founder of this company really struggles with ADHD and hated that other planners and notebooks try to just force you to use them when it's convenient for the notebook maker. But if you have ADHD like me, you know that sometimes you're going to forget that there's a notebook that you were using or a planner that you had lots of notes in. So what I love about these notebooks is that the pages are undated and you can come back whenever is convenient for you. These notebooks all represent 6 months of dateless pages, and the pages are borderline bleedless, so I can use pretty heavy ink on them without worrying that the page is going to leak. If you'd like to get your Mabel notebook, please head over to the Mabel site. If you sign up for the newsletter, you can get 10% off, and there is free shipping on orders of 2 notebooks or more. So thank you, Mabel, so much for supporting our channel. And without further ado, let's get into it.
So I received a message from Pavel back in, I believe, July, where he wanted me to play test Origament so they could find things that are working, things that aren't working, and try to improve the game. I just wanted to say I had a really good first impression of this game. It was very well organized. It's visually designed super well. The UX is very easy to use. And to be honest, I played a lot of indies. UX and UI is something that indie games really tend to struggle with. So I wanted to make specific reference to that as being incredibly, it's just incredible in this game. It's really well made. So the first question I asked was, can you tell me a little bit about you, your role with Space Sauce, and what players can expect from this game? It says, hey, I'm Pavel. I founded Space Sauce in 2017 as an outsourcing studio. It still is, though now we also have a strong in-house game development team. It's now a family business I run together with my wife. I did talk with his wife very, very briefly, and she's a super nice lady. It's been quite a journey from a tiny team of just 4 artists to what we have today. There are nearly 50 folks in the outsourcing division, and we focus on producing high-quality assets for titles such as War Thunder, Enlisted, WH-40K, Space Marine 2, SnowRunner 2, and DCS World. Did I say SnowRunner 2? That should just say SnowRunner. A quick side note before we continue this interview, I really liked how it was really, even in this early access edition, even in this playtest version, it was very easy to understand what I was supposed to do in the game. So you essentially play as this little ball of paper, and we'll see me attempt to get through these levels poorly. Here in just a second. They have also created more than 80 warships for War Thunder, and I will drop their ArtStation account in the video description below. We started making our own projects pretty early. I funded the development myself using what I earned from outsourcing. We had a few interesting ideas, prototypes, and demos, including the prototype of Origament, which was then called Unfold. Another quick side note about this game here is that I love that there's these little traces of humanity that you find in the game. There's these little storytelling elements that you start to gather as you play this title. It's really fun, super cute, and interactive. Origament is a chill 3D puzzle platformer where you play as a special letter with a soul. It's trying to find its way to the address, traveling through eras and countries inhabited by strange creatures. Nice. So I asked, I wanted to know a lot more about the motivations behind this title, how this, this concept was created. So I asked, the story of Origament is really fun. It has very unique game mechanics. And I was so curious, how did origami become the center focus of this game? He says, during the development idea, we often bounce around fun and quirky thoughts. The concept for Origament started with the idea of making a game about a small paper boat sailing through a big world where you see everything, everyday things from a completely different perspective. One of our game designers prototyped it, and we felt that it was a cool vibe, so we started building it, which I think is really cool. I love when companies focus on the collaborative elements. I think collaboration, you don't always have to collaborate, but at least getting feedback from other people or getting ideas from outside, people outside of our own brains. We can come up with these really unique concepts when we work together and we start putting pieces together. So I said, I can imagine it's been challenging to think about the story and think about how to tell a story, without the traditional method of, characters necessarily interacting, like having a direct conversation. How has the team approached this concept of, telling a story and essentially having a conversation without having a conversation? You know what I mean? It's like WALL-E, where they tell you an entire story for 40 minutes before you hear anyone speak outside of a VHS tape player. He says, it's true, we have very limited options when it comes to telling a story in the traditional sense. After all, you are a crumpled piece of paper, not a guy with two swords. That's why we're currently focusing on showing the story through action and visual storytelling. Something that I have really thought about in the last years with, marketing, with game development and all of these kinds of things is how important and critical it really is to show, don't tell. It's really important to show story elements without necessarily saying it. Like, saying helps, but if we show somebody and they then have to interact with it, you start to feel a deeper relationship and camaraderie with. Nice, there we go. It's like, do I get over this hump? I can't remember. There's a spot where I get stuck in the game. We'll see where it is. Nice. So, I was so impressed by this demo. It's the level design is incredibly creative. There's different kinds of obstacles that you face. There's specific mechanics that you have to take into account. If you try to go through a part of the level in the incorrect shape, then you're going to have a hard time or not be able to accomplish what it is that you want to accomplish. So I asked him about this. I was like, I think that there's an incredible amount of feedback that the player gets. You're essentially told why you've had to fail. You can kind of guess. There's enough hints in these level designs to help you figure out what you need to do. And so I asked about, how did they think about the physics and the mechanics of these pieces of paper? How did you decide how to tell the player, how to accomplish a specific task? How did you design these levels, essentially, is the question. He said, thank you for the kind words. It means we're headed the right way. We actually have several locations in the game. There were many prototypes along the way. Some didn't make it into the current build, and others were heavily reworked. As the project evolved, we got more and more immersed in the mechanics and became bolder with our ideas. And I can tell you this, even bolder ideas and even more fun are waiting ahead, which makes me very excited. Because as you can see in the video right here, you even have a vent, and the vent can push you up if you're in the correct paper shape, like this. I thought this was such a creative way to utilize space and create, this really interesting problem that I've never, I have seen similar concepts in other games, but it was such a delightful surprise in the context of this level to be like, oh, I can actually boost myself because I don't have gas, obviously. I'm a piece of paper. So how can I actually go ahead and proceed? Also, I apologize. We had some lag. My internet was not performing at its highest level that day. So I apologize for the clanky view here. So I asked about the visual design in relation to the levels as well, because I was so curious about You know, as a person who is from the United States, but I've lived in Asia and have, you know, familiarity with especially Korea and Japan, I was so, you know, inspired, and it was really cool to see the accuracy of the Japanese inspired, you know, lanterns and bamboo and these kinds of things that you would see in especially very modern areas of Japan, walking around, you know, Tokyo, Kyoto, places like this. So it's like these Japanese inspired lanterns and several other architectural motifs are incredible. They're beautiful. And how did you guys gather that inspiration? Like, where did you find that visual inspiration? How did you make sure it was accurate? He responds, he says, the Japanese garden was one of our first locations. It came from a practical starting point. We wanted to create a small stream with obstacles and make it look beautiful. After exploring different ideas, we realized that a Japanese garden fit that concept perfectly. Venice was my idea. It's the perfect place for floating, gliding, and rolling. A city on water with narrow streets and colorful rooftops. And it's just stunning. I've been there 3 or 4 times, and every time it leaves me in awe. I guess I made my little dream come true, bringing this wonderful city into our game. We are now finishing up a Wild West location and getting started on the next one, but let's keep that one secret for now. I like that, a little hanging teaser. I think this is where I got stuck. So you're gonna see me repeatedly kind of go through this network. We'll get through the last couple of questions here. I think I'm gonna run out of time, so maybe we're going to post this as an article that you'll have to go and read for yourself. But I do ask about the challenges of building. He says the biggest challenge building was bringing the right people together. Great projects are primarily the result of a great team's work. We gathered an amazing team for Origament, the best I've ever worked with. I think this is exactly the case. I did ask about marketing. As a person who works in marketing in my day job, I'm always wondering what other people are doing, you know, what struggles have they had? What struggles are they trying to overcome? I said, you mentioned both through our correspondence and on posts on LinkedIn that marketing was a challenge for this game. How has it been to try and find your audience when Origament fits more than one niche, more than one genre, and it's kind of its own version of several genres put together? He said, this project's our debut on Steam, and we learned marketing from scratch. We probably should have started a couple years earlier, right when the idea was born, but we were inexperienced. It seems like that's the problem that most indie devs face. Very true. We're trying to actively share our development process on socials, run ads, and soon we'll be reaching out to influencers. Before the playtest, we thought that our target audience would mostly be teenagers, but after the playtest with over 3,000 participants, we discovered that we actually have 2 audiences, kids under 10 and adults 30 and up, which I thought was true. I'm above 30 and this game feels perfectly tailored to me. So I was not surprised to hear this as the response. That got us to reconsider our marketing, and we're still exploring the best ways to reach our audience. Yes, absolutely. Audience location can be tricky. Finding the right platform, the right messaging, it can be a hard sell. Okay, next up, playtesting and community. I thanked him for sending me the playtest invite. It was really fun. I genuinely haven't had this much fun playing a playtest like that. That's me speaking truth for sure. I wouldn't say that if it wasn't true. Super fun. I genuinely really enjoyed playing this and will play it when it comes out. I said I really was surprised to find how much fun I had exploring as a piece of paper. Has playtesting impacted this game? How has the community that's following you played a part in the development process? He said, thanks. We got a ton of warm feedback during playtests. Most ratings are between 4 and 5. It really has given us a boost to make it even cooler. At the same time, we gathered a lot of useful feedback. It turns out that players don't always act the way we expect, like getting stuck on the fairground quest, for example. It helped us see what works, what doesn't, and whether we're heading in the right direction. All of this will make the final version of the game way more fun to play. I agree. Playtesting is so critical. I know I'm definitely preaching to the choir here. If any of you watching this are indie developers, you already know how important and impactful playtests are, but I don't think it's a waste of time to say, this is where I got stuck. I don't think it's a waste of time to say that playtesting truly impacts quality of life. And last question I had for him is what's the experience you really want your players to have? Like, what would you love for people to say about this game when they're finished playing it? He said, we want Origament to be the kind of game you play after a long day. You relax, enjoy the experience. It's a beautiful adventure that helps you unwind and escape from everything for a while. Our goal is to keep pleasantly surprising the player, constantly shifting rules in fun ways to keep things fresh and engaging. We introduce simple puzzles, combine peaceful moments of exploration, and exciting bits where you're rolling along cliffs, hiding from giant animals, and more. We'd love to see Origament played by the whole family. For kids, it's not just an exciting adventure, it's also a kind of simulator for overcoming life's challenges. We always have to change and adapt to new circumstances and move forward, and Origament can help express that idea in a playful and gentle way. For people with anxiety, we hope Origament can be calming and healing, like a kind of meditation for those who struggle to focus or quiet their thoughts. And for people who aren't into platformers, we would love them to say, wow, I never thought I'd like this genre. I thought that was such a beautifully worded sentiment. I am a huge fan of this game. I'm a huge fan of this team. I love how much passion has been put into every level, mechanic, and visual component of this game. And although a release date, at the time of filming this, I have not seen or heard a release date, which makes sense. Even though we're not sure when the release will come, I will definitely be watching and looking out for it, and you will most assuredly be seeing this game on IGO again. If you would like to wishlist this game or support these developers in some way, make sure that you like, subscribe, follow, and definitely, of course, as always, wishlist it on Steam. Otherwise, thank you immensely for joining me again here on IGO. We are always producing new content, talking to new indie game developers, trying out new games, and always for free for indie devs. So if you would like your game featured, if you know a game that you would like featured on the channel, please make sure to comment them or try to DM us. I try to respond to DMs. I don't always, I'm sorry about that, but I do try to be responsive. And otherwise, I will see you next time, and thank you again. Bye-bye.